today we have to look at experiment number 9. This is basically related to heat pump. The objective of the experiments have been written down on the board. First of all, you have to draw the schematic diagram of heat pump and you have to identify the main components of the heat pump. The second objective is you have to determine the heat absorbed in evaporator and heat released in condenser. And the third one is you have to finally determine the COP, coefficient of performance of heat pump. You have to calculate the coefficient of performance of the same equipment both as a heat pump, and if the equipment is used as a refrigerator, then you have to determine the COP as well. In both cases, if we use the equipment as a heat pump or as a refrigerator, you have to determine the coefficient of performance in both cases. Okay, first of all, we will move to our objective number first. We have to draw the schematic diagram of the heat pump. So for that, I'll erase all of that and I'll point out objective 1A, B, C one by one. Okay. So first of all, I'll go for objective number 1. We have to draw the schematic diagram of heat pump. But before that, I'd like to tell you about the cycle, the vapor compression cycle, on the basis of which the heat pump works. So let me erase that first. Okay, this one is the TS diagram of vapor compression cycle. 4 processes have been labeled: process 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and 4 to 1. We will look at these processes one by one. First of all, this 1 to 2 is basically isentropic compression. Since it is a straight vertical line on the entropy axis, so 1 to 2 is basically the entropy remains same. So that's why this is an isentropic compression, and this process has been carried out in compressor. The compressor supplies the energy to the refrigerant and the state changes from state 1 to state 2. Now at state 2, the refrigerant is at superheated state. So now process 2 to 3 is basically constant pressure heat rejection. Okay, this process 2 to 3 is basically constant pressure heat rejection. This process is carried out in condenser. तो कंडेंसर में आपके पास हीट रिजेक्शन होगी to the ambient, to the atmosphere, or whatever medium we have. So this process is carried out in condenser 2 to 3, and this 3 to 4 is basically expansion process. And this is a constant enthalpy process. This has been carried out in expansion valve. And this 4 to 1 is basically constant pressure heat absorption, and this process has been carried out in evaporator. तो बेसिकली 4 प्रोसेसेस है. अगर मैं यहाँ से स्टार्ट करूँ कि पहले आपके जो रेफ्रिजरेंट होगा वो evaporator के अंदर हीट absorb करेगा, then it will go to the compressor and the compressor will supply energy, and the state of the vapors will be changed from the saturated vapor state to the superheated vapor state, and it will reach the state 2, and from state 2 to state 3 it's a constant pressure heat rejection in condenser, and then 3 to 4 is a constant enthalpy process, and it is carried out in the expansion valve. So if I join these 4 components, so the diagram can be drawn as, so there is an evaporator first of all, and evaporator, and then after evaporator we have compressor, and then after compressor we have the expansion valve, and then after expansion valve again after compressor we have condenser, This one is condenser, and then expansion wall, and then again evaporator. So these 4 points can be labeled on this one. After evaporator we have state 1. Sorry, after evaporator we have state 1, and before compressor. After compressor we have state 2, and after condenser we have state 3, and then after expansion wall we have state 4. Okay, these are the 4 basic components in the vapor compression cycle or in the heat pump. But the actual diagram we have in our lab, the equipment is a little bit different from this one. Actually, in our lab there are 1 to 2 other main components as well that play their role. But we have 2 evaporator and the 2 condenser. Okay, so like if I talk about the condenser, so in condenser the refrigerant have to release the heat to some medium. So this medium can be air that is easily available, or it can be water. And in our lab, in the equipment, we have both these facilities. We can either reject the heat, the condenser can either eject the heat to the air, or it can either eject the heat to the water. So both type of condenser we have available, air type condenser and water type condenser. And similarly for the evaporator as well, we have both the refrigerant have to absorb the heat, so there is some we require some source of heat. So the refrigerant can either absorb heat from the air, or it can absorb heat from the water. So I'll again draw the diagram according to the equipment in our lab, but the major components are these 4. Okay, but a little bit what will be changed is like we will have 2 condenser and the 2 evaporators. That will be the only difference, and 2 or 3 components will be more than this one. Okay, this is the basic diagram. Okay, this is the vapor compression cycle, the 4 process: isentropic compression, constant pressure heat rejection, and then we have expansion process, constant enthalpy process, and then we have 4 to 1 is basically like phase change process in the evaporator. And these are the 4 main components. Okay, I'll now draw the diagram, the schematic diagram. That's our first objective, to draw the schematic diagram of the heat pump and to identify the main components. So we will go to our first objective of the lab. So I'll just remove. Okay, this is the schematic diagram of the equipment we have in our lab. This looks quite complex, but it is quite easy. We follow step by step. Okay, I'll start after the expansion wall. Okay, so after the expansion wall, what we have basically 2 evaporator. This one is air based evaporator, and the right one is basically water based evaporator. So I have 2 walls for each one. अगर ये 2 वॉल ओपन करेंगे तो आपके पास रेफ्रिजरेंट इस एयर बेस में फ्लो करेगा. अगर ये 2 वॉल ओपन करेंगे तो आपके पास जो रेफ्रिजरेंट होगा वो वाटर बेस में फ्लो करेगा. For example, if these 2 valves are open and these 2 are closed, so the refrigerant will follow this path, and since it is at low temperature and pressure, because it is after the expansion wall, so it will be at low temperature and low pressure, so it will absorb the heat from the ambient air. So it's the temperature of the refrigerant in the evaporator is below the ambient temperature, so it will absorb the heat and will change its phase to vapors. So the vapors will be formed here, and after the evaporator, there is another wall, so it will reach at this point. The vapors of the refrigerant will reach at this point. If I choose this path, okay, if these 2 are closed and these 2 are open, so the refrigerant will follow this path, and this is a concentric pipe heat exchanger basically. आपके पास 2 पाइप्स हैं. एक पाइप के अंदर आपके पास रेफ्रिजरेंट फ्लो कर रहा है, और उसके बाद आउटर पाइप के अंदर आपके पास वाटर फ्लो कर रहा है. तो रेफ्रिजरेंट जो इनसाइड पाइप है, ठीक है, उसके अंदर आपके पास रेफ्रिजरेंट फ्लो कर रहा है जिसका टेम्परेचर और प्रेशर के आपके पास कम है, और उसके आउटसाइड में आपके पास वाटर फ्लो कर रहा है फ्रॉम द टैप. तो यहाँ से आपके पास क्या होगा, वो हीट एब्जॉर्ब करेगा, रेफ्रिजरेंट हीट एब्जॉर्ब करेगा वाटर से. वाटर का टेम्परेचर क्या हो जाएगा, डाउन हो जाएगा, जबकि रेफ्रिजरेंट फेज चेंज करके कहाँ पहुँच जाएगा, वेपर स्टेट में पहुँच जाएगा. तो दोनों केसेस में रेफ्रिजरेंट का चाहे आप if we use the air based evaporator or the water based evaporator, in both cases we will reach the same point. So from at this point we have the vapor state, and there is another component after the evaporator, that is called separator. So in actual cycle we have seen that after the evaporator we go to the compressor, but quite possible, like if the flow rate of the water is not sufficient, or if the air does not absorb this much heat to completely convert the liquid state of the refrigerant to the vapors, so there must be another component that must separate the liquid part, the moisture content, from the vapors. So because no vapor should go to the compressor, so before that, so after the evaporator and before the compressor, there is another component we call the separator. The purpose of this component, the separator, is here is to separate the moisture from the vapors, so that only vapors go to the compressor. So we will reach to the compressor. That is another component. The compressor will supply energy to the refrigerant, and after that the superheated vapors will go to the condenser. Again, we have two condenser. The one is air based, the other one is water based. So I can use either one. So if I use these, if these two walls are open, so the refrigerant will follow into the water based condenser. If these two walls are open, so the refrigerant will go to the air based condenser. In both cases, the refrigerant will, since it is at after the compressor, so it will be at high pressure and high temperature, and the temperature of the water and the air will be low, so it will eject or release heat to the relevant medium. If we use the water based condenser, so that then the refrigerant will release heat to the water, and the water temperature will be increased. If we have the condenser, air based condenser, so it will eject heat to the air, and the temperature of the air will increase. And after that, after releasing the condenser, it will be in liquid state, saturated liquid state. So since we cannot store the refrigerant in the pipes, so there is another component where we can store the refrigerant, so that is called accumulator. So after the condenser we have the accumulator where the refrigerant is stored, and after that we have the filter, and after that there is a flow meter that measures the flow rate of the refrigerant. In the cycle we will see that. And after the flow meter we have the expansion wall, and expansion wall there will be the constant enthalpy process, and after that we will reach again to the evaporator. So pointing out again, I will again draw the diagram in the middle so that I can relate that. So you can remember, this is anisotropic compression, and then constant pressure heat rejection, and then this one and this one. So this process is carried out. There is 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 to 1 was evaporator. So the heat will be, the refrigerant will absorb the heat in the evaporator, and after that we have the compressor that will provide heat to the refrigerant. So it will reach to the superheated vapors. So the other main components is after the separator is compressor, that will provide energy to the refrigerant. So superheated vapors will be here. So ST1 in the diagram will be these temperatures is quite different. So okay, I can change that. After the compressor I have 1, and this is 2, and after the expansion wall I have 3, and okay, I've changed the numbers according to the diagram. So before pointing out again, after the evaporator there is a saturated vapors. So these vapors then move to the compressor that will supply energy. So 4 to 1 process here in the compressor. So superheated vapors are here, ST1. So after that we have constant pressure heat rejection in condenser. So I can use either of these two condensers, and at this point there will be saturated liquid. So I'll have to store it into the accumulator. So accumulator will store the refrigerant, and then 2 to 3, the other main component is constant enthalpy process that is being carried out in expansion wall, and then again to the evaporator. These are the main components. Now coming to the temperature sensors, what we have and how to basically calculate second objective. The second objective of the experiment was to determine the heat absorbed or heat released in the condenser or in the evaporator and in the condenser. So I'll first come to the you can say that I'll first come to the condenser part. Okay. Here you can see that. So first of all, I'll go all the experimental calculation. I'll not go to the theoretical calculation. So as you know that, so the COP of the heat pump, we know that is the heating effect divided by the power input. So that is the COP of the heat pump. So heating effect is how much heat is released by the refrigerant. So you can see here, this is QH, Q dot H, and this is work input in the diagram. So the COP is basically this heat rejection 1 to 2, कितनी heat release हुई है condenser में, and the accordingly compression work input. So I can say that this would be Q dot H divided by work input from the compressor. Okay, so now how to calculate these two values experimentally? The basic process is that. Okay, I'll go for the water one first. I'll not consider the air. I'll go to the water. Okay, the first experiment is basically related to the water. You can go to the water calculation and then you can go to the air calculations. But in experiment number 9, we just have to consider the water. So the demonstration I will show you will be related to the water only in experiment number 9. Experiment 10 is basically related to the air. So I consider only the water here. So the heating effect is how much heat is released by the refrigerant to the water. Okay, so this 1 to 2 is heat released by the refrigerant and this heat is absorbed by the water. So assuming that all the heat released by the refrigerant is absorbed by the water. तो बेसिकली तो हीटिंग इफेक्ट बेसिकली क्या होगा कि वाटर ने कितनी हीट अब्सॉर्ब की है, ठीक है. तो आई हैव टू कैलकुलेट द हीट अब्सॉर्ब बाय द वाटर. ओके, सो हाउ कैन आई कैलकुलेट दैट हीट? ओके, you know that this ST5 and ST6, these are two temperature sensors that have been pointed out or placed at the inlet or the outlet of the water based condenser. So ST5 is basically the water temperature inlet and ST6 is the water temperature outlet. So using these two temperature sensors, I can calculate the sensible heat absorbed by the water, because there is no phase change involved and you have studied in your mathematics. Q dot is basically equal to mc delta T. So I have to calculate this heat. So I need three parameters. I need the mass flow rate, I need the C, the heat capacity of the water, and I need the delta T. So first of all, for delta T, I have two temperature sensors, ST5 and ST6. So taking the temperature difference of these two sensors, ST6 minus ST5, I can calculate the delta T. Okay, so I have the delta T. Now coming to the C, the specific heat of the water. So since the water temperature is changing and the value of the C depends upon the water temperature, so what I'll do, I'll take the average of these two temperatures, ST5 and ST6, and from the literature at the average temperature I'll find out the value of the C. So that will be calculated from the literature, the value of C. And the mass flow rate, for the mass flow rate we have the flow meter at the inlet of the water. We have the flow meter here, from where we can calculate the volume flow rate of the water. And as we know that mass flow rate is basically density into volume flow rate, C into delta T. So this can give me the volume flow rate, and multiplying that volume flow rate to the density of the water, I can calculate the mass flow rate. So that formula can be reduced to density into volume flow rate multiplied by C into delta T. From this part I can calculate this heating effect. Okay, so for the density part I'll do the same, because the density depends upon the water temperature as well. So what I'll do, I'll take the average of these temperatures, and for at the average temperature I'll find out the value of the density. So density at the average temperature, volume flow rate from the flow meter of the water, C at the average temperature, delta T from the two temperature sensors placed at water inlet and the water outlet, I can find the delta T. So I can find the Q dot H from this formula. I can plug it here, and from the power input of the compressor I can take directly from the control panel, because the power of the compressor can be read directly from the control panel. So using these two values you can find the COP of heat pump, the actual experimental value of the coefficient of performance as a heat pump. Okay, so if I have to calculate the coefficient of performance if I use this whole system as a refrigerator. So what I need to do basically, so I can write the coefficient of performance of as a refrigerator. So that is cooling effect divided by what I have, that is power input, and Q dot of L divided by work dot of input, you can say. So that is the ratio of cooling effect divided by power input. So going to the vapor compression cycle, you know that the cooling effect is how much heat is absorbed by the refrigerant in the evaporator. So that is 3 to 4, that is Q dot L. So this is in the air condenser, focusing on the water. So basically यहाँ पे जब आपके पास रेफ्रिजरेंट फ्लो कर रहा है तो वो हीट एब्जॉर्ब कर रहा है कहाँ से, वाटर से, बिकॉज इट इज a low temperature and pressure, it will absorb heat from the water and will change its phase. So using these two temperature sensors, using the same formula, I can find out like how much heat is absorbed by the water. So ST5 and ST7, again two temperature sensors, and I have the flow meter here to find out the value of the water flow rate. So using that flow meter, I can find the volume flow rate and the C at temperature, and these two temperature sensors, inlet temperature is ST5 and the outlet temperature is ST7. These two temperature sensors will give me the value of the delta T. You can notice that I have also placed ST5 temperature sensor at the water inlet, because these two temperature water inlet are the same, because the water is coming from the tap, and the same and there is only one pipe, and that is basically divided into two, and one pipe goes to the evaporator and the other one goes to the condenser. So that's why inlet is same, ST5 for both, and ST6 is the condenser outlet of the water, and ST7 is the evaporator outlet of the water. So these three temperature sensors are basically related to the water, ST5, 6 and 7, and coming to the air. Okay, for a brief description, because experiment number 9 is not related to the air. So, but I'm going to tell you air temperature. The ambient air is ST8. So you can see ST8 is the evaporator inlet air, and in the condenser is same ST8, but condenser outlet is ST9, and the evaporator outlet is ST10. So these are the temperature sensors in order. ST8, 9, 10 are basically related to the you can say the air. ST5, 6, 7 are related to the water, and ST4 temperature sensors are basically give you 4 temperatures of the refrigerant. ST4 is basically after the condenser, after the evaporator ST4, after the compressor we have ST1, and after the condenser we have ST2, and after the expansion valve we have ST3. Okay, these temperatures you can read from there. Using these 4 temperatures you can basically draw the cycle. So you have to draw the cycle because there is only 1-to-1 correspondence at 4 and 1, so you need 2 lines. So there is no need of pressure, but the pressure reading will be given to you as well. So you have to, in the second part, okay, so you have basically calculated the COP of heat pump and the refrigerator using the experimental values. Okay, what we have done, we have find out all the values from the water or the compressor input directly. For the theoretical part, if you have to calculate this COP, the heating effect and the cooling effect theoretically, what you have to do, you have to first draw this TS diagram or the pH diagram. Preferably you have to draw the pH diagram because that will give you directly these values. So you have to draw the pH diagram of the vapor compression cycle. You have to point out the 4 temperatures, and using this one, I'm not going to tell you that you have to consider your theory part because that has been taught you as well. So looking at your theory part, you have to basically calculate how much like power is given by the compressor. It is in the condenser and heat absorbed in the evaporator. You have to, using the formulas you have been taught in the theory lectures, you have to calculate the same COP of heat pump and COP of refrigerant theoretically, and then you have to compare these two values. Okay, this is about the experiment number 9. So the first objective was to draw the schematic diagram that we have covered, and the second objective was to calculate the heat absorbed in the evaporator and heat released in the condenser. That we have also done. Q dot H and Q dot L and how to calculate that. And the third objective was how you have to determine the COP. So that is your third objective. You have to done it both theoretically and experimentally. I've taught you how to do that experimentally. You have to look at the theory part for theoretical part. Okay, that's it. Any question you can ask in your discussion section on Teams. I'll answer. Okay, thank you. This is it. Okay, this is our equipment in our lab. That is from Adibon THAR222B refrigeration and air conditioning unit, 2 condensers, water and air, and the 2 evaporators, water and air. Okay, you can get the technical data from the Adibon website. So this is our setup, experimental setup, and on the left of it you can see this is the control panel from where you can control different components. This is the compressor switch. So you can on and off from this switch. This is the main power switch, and these 2 switches are for the fans. The one is for the evaporator fan and the other one is for the condenser fan, and you can control the speed of air or the speed of fan using these 2 knobs. Okay, so these 2 knobs are here. So you can see now in this situation the compressor is on, and you can read the power of the compressor, that is 833 watt. So that's the experimental value, and on the left of it there are basically the temperature display. Now there is a temperature selector knob. Now you can see that it is at ST3. So this temperature is basically -1 is ST3, and it is at ST2. So ST2 is basically 49, and ST1, that is 84. So 84 was ST1 was after the compressor. So after the compressor it's the highest temperature. So ST1 is the highest temperature, 84, and ST2 was after the condenser. So after the condenser I have 49, and ST3 was after the expansion wall. So it's the lowest temperature. You can see that its temperature is -1 degree Celsius. So after the expansion wall the temperature is -1, that is below the ambient temperature or the water temperature in the tap. So now you can see that -1 temperature is of the refrigerant in the evaporator. So the water temperature can be assumed, the water temperature we can check, that is water inlet temperature is 30. So water inlet is 30 from the tap, while the temperature in the condenser of the refrigerant is -1, so that is a difference of 31. So that's why the refrigerant will absorb heat from the water. Okay, so ST6 was condenser outlet. You can see that. So water ST5, 6, 7 were water temperatures. So water inlet is at 30, and the water outlet at the condenser is 44. So this temperature difference of 14 degrees shows that the water has absorbed heat in the condenser. And ST7, that was basically the temperature of the water at the evaporator outlet. So 530 inlet temperature at the in the evaporator is 30, and the outlet temperature of the water is 25. So that's a drop of 5 degrees Celsius. So you can see that water has released heat to the refrigerant. Refrigerant has absorbed heat. That's why you can see the temperature of 5 degrees Celsius. ST8, 9, 10 are of air, that are no concern for this experiment. So ST4 is not working. So ST3, because the ST3 is after the expansion wall, and this one is after the evaporator. So assuming that since this is a phase change process and there is no change in temperature during the phase change process, so you can assume ST3 and ST4 are same. So you can take ST4 as -1 degree Celsius. So coming to the equipment, okay, you can see that this one is evaporator. This is an air-based evaporator, and this is a similar type of card at heat exchanger. Okay, so I can turn the fans on. You can see that. Okay, now the fan is on basically. So this fan allow the air to flow through the evaporator so that the refrigerant can absorb heat from the air. Okay, and this fan like allows the air to flow over these tubes so that the refrigerant can release heat to the condenser. So this is the hot air, and this is the cold air. Okay, and the temperature sensors are here as I've shown, that is ST10 and this one is ST9, and the ambient temperature, that is ST8, has been installed at that position. You can see at this point. So this temperature sensor has been installed in the ambient. So ST8 is the ambient air temperature. ST9, as I have told you, that is the condenser exit. So ST10 is basically the evaporator. So these three temperature sensors are not of concern in our experiment. So these are shown. So coming to the equipment, so we have the evaporator here, air-based evaporator, and the water-based evaporator on the back side. You can see that the evaporators have been freezed on it. So you can see that basically the refrigerant is absorbing heat from the water, because the refrigerant temperature we have seen was -1 and the water temperature at the inlet was 30. So 30-degree water temperature and the -1 is the refrigerant temperature. So the refrigerant is absorbing heat from the water, and the water temperature has been dropped down to 25 degrees Celsius. As we have seen, the inlet temperature was 25 and the temperature dropped down to 25. So that's why the water has been cooled down in the evaporator. So this is a parallel parallel tube heat exchanger here. Okay, this is the evaporator, and on the left of it you can see the condenser. Again, now this has been basically closed, and this one is open. So the schematic diagram is same as I have told you in the lecture, demonstration lecture. Now this is the condenser. Now the refrigerant is basically releasing heat to the water in this one. So the exit temperature of the water was assumed to be I think what was that? ST6 was 44, right. So ST5 is 30 and ST4 6 was 44. So showing you that the water is basically absorbing heat in the condenser. So its temperature is raised to from 30 to 44 degrees Celsius. Okay, so 30 to 44 degrees Celsius, that's why it is absorbing heat there. There is a compressor here. You can see here that's another component, the main component. So evaporator, condenser, compressor, and the fourth component was the expansion valve. So you can see the expansion valve here. Now you can see the low temperature area from outside, because the atmospheric vapors have been condensed and freezed at that point. So that's the temperature, low temperature line, and you can see the air freezed at this point. Okay, so that's ST3, the lowest temperature in the cycle. Okay, and now after the compressor, now I'll come to the temperature sensors of the refrigerant after the compressor. This is the compressor outlet. This one is the ST1, and you can read the pressure value from here after the compressor. You can see, you can read it's somewhat below 15 bar, so 14 and 15 bar between. So you can read the temperature, the pressure from here after the compressor, and then we have the condenser, and after the condenser we have the temperature ST2. You can see here after the condenser ST2 is here, and you can read the pressure. It's about same pressure, because almost the same pressure, so it shows that the heat rejection is at constant pressure. So you can read it's again between 14 and 15 bar and ST2, but the temperature will be dropped. ST2 we have observed that as well, ST2, and then ST2 it will go to the accumulator. That black one is basically the accumulator, this component. This black one is basically accumulator, and from the accumulator you can move on left side, and you can see the bottom there is filter, the blue one is filter, and from the top of it you can read the refrigerant flow rate. Now the refrigerant flow rate is basically 22 liter per watt, because that's 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, so it's 22 liter per watt. The refrigerant temperature can be read from here. So, and after that there is an expansion wall at the top, the expansion wall at the top, and then after the expansion wall you again come to the, following this point, you come to the evaporator, right? ST3. After the expansion wall the temperature is ST3, and you can see that the pressure has been dropped down. That in the condenser it was 15 bar, but now it's between 2 and 3, so it's almost 2.5 bar. So you can see that after the expansion wall the temperature has the pressure has significantly dropped down to 2 and 3. And ST3, after the expansion wall, following this you have this evaporator inlet, and you can see the low temperature area from the outside. So again you can see that there are two walls, this way and this way. You can either go this way. If this control valve is open, you can go to the evaporator, air-based evaporator. If that control valve is open, you will go to the water-based evaporator. So these two walls are here, and eventually whether you will go on that side and this side, you will come to the evaporator outlet at the same point. So that's the evaporator outlet. So after the evaporator we will have to go to the separator that separate the vapors and the liquid. So following this line, this is the ST4. So I've shown that this one is after evaporator, since it's not working, so you can assume that ST3 and ST4 are same. And from ST4 you will go to the separator following this line, and that separator is the blue one. You can see behind the blue pillar, the blue one is the separator. And after the separator, what you will have to go, you have to come to the compressor. So following that line, this way you come to the compressor, and after the compressor you again, this is the compressor outlet, and this is a high pressure controller switch. So if the pressure exceeds, this box has been installed at this location. You can see the white box. So this is a pressure controller limiter. So I can limit the pressure at the outlet of the compressor, so that I may know if the pressure exceeds a certain limit, so the compressor is automatically turned off. Okay, after the compressor I'll go to the condenser, and again I have two condenser. Either I can use air based or either I can use water based. So these two walls and these two upper walls, you can see one is here and this one is for air and this one is for water. So if this one and the bottom one, these two walls are open, so air based will be used. If the other two ones are open, then the water based will be used. But eventually I'll come to the same point, that is this way. At this point, either I come to this one or I come to this, I'll reach the same point, and after that I'll go to the accumulator, and from accumulator the same cycle starts. Okay, this is about the experiment. So I'll moreover you can read the flow reading of the water. You can see that ST5 is the water inlet temperature. This one is coming from the tap, and ST5 temperature sensor has been installed here, and there is a flow meter on the left side. This one shows the flow rate of water in the condenser. You can read the value of, it's about, you have to read the value from the top of the ball. So it's 1.2 and it's almost 1.3 liter per minute. So it's 1.3 liter per minute. You have to read from the top, you can see that, and there is a scale liter per minute. So 1.3 liter per minute is the flow rate of water in the condenser. And for the evaporator, you can read the value from here. It's almost 2 liter per minute. So these are the values you can use in your calculations to calculate the theoretical and the experimental values, and to draw the schematic diagram. I'll again show you the temperature. So ST1 is basically ST1 is 83 degrees Celsius after the compressor, and then ST2 is basically 49. ST1 is 83, ST2 is 49, ST3 is minus 1 it has been reached, minus 1, minus 2, so it's almost same. ST4 is not working. ST5 was water inlet, so it was 30, now it's 29, but you can use either values, the before one or these one. ST4 and then that was ST5 was 29 and ST6 is 43, the condenser outlet. So ST7 is 24. So these values you have to use to perform the calculations. Okay, this is it about the experiment. Any question you can ask. Thank you so much.